What kind of drugs you do in Seattle?
I think it was mostly, I didn't want to do a lot of heavy shit, so I did
Right.
mostly heroin and crack. No, I'm just kidding. I did,
Hey, listen, man, welcome to expediTIously. I'm your host, Tip T.I. Harris, man. You know, on this show, what we do is we have conversations that can push the culture forward and stimulate the minds of the generation. We have those conversations with people who are relevant to the discussion. Now, today, my guest is none other than Bob Saget. Bob Saget is a legendary stand-up comedian, actor, and television host, along with being a director. He has starred in many successful TV shows, including Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos. But he's also a Grammy Award-nominated stand-up comedian for over 30 years, showing his dark side from his HBO special, That Ain't Right, to his cameos in Entourage and The Aristocrats. Bob was born in Philadelphia, which gives him an edge that you would probably not expect. And he also attended Temple University. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. I am honored, T.I.
Hey, man, I appreciate you.
I've been aware of you a long time and admire of you a long time. And I'm 64 and you were born in 1980. So you could be like, I could be married to you. We could be, my wife's 41. So, I mean, you guys have some of the same references.
My wife's 45, so you know what I'm saying.
Wow, I couldn't date someone that old
than me. Isn't that something? You must be cool.
She's really cool. We were singing your songs all night last night.
Man, that's amazing, man.
Well, you're. I mean, it's insane how much you do, and you're a great actor. And it's like, holy shit, you're one of those triple threat amazing people that. And then I started going through because I knew it was going to be on this. You know how we get busy and self-involved in our own stuff, and
of course we do.
I'm bad at it, but I'm not as narcissistic as other people that have.
I am.
Well, I am too, but not in the bad way.
I take that for the both of us.
Right, I am too, but not like the people that do it for the wrong reasons. You know,
see, I'm a self-diagnosed narcissist. See, so I noticed the traits and qualities within myself, and I recognize that, and I've identified that it comes from growing up where nobody could have taught me how to do what I'm doing now. So if it wasn't for my belief in myself, if it wasn't for my own ideas, my own thoughts, my own opinions, and my own application of skill, I would have never made it here. So I kind of had to operate as a narcissist for so long until people kind of started to catch on, and I, kind of like, hey, well, he has a point here. He is pretty good. And, in every stage of my career, and I just feel like I'm constantly improving myself. And I have to be a narcissist to kind of, to I guess, compensate for all of the deficit of belief in me that there has been throughout my life.
Yeah, well, I haven't been in your shoes. I know your history. I know stuff you've been through that I haven't. But I've had a lot of death throughout my life. Both my sisters are gone.
I'm sorry.
My parents are gone. Oh, thanks. Did you have good parents growing up?
Man, I had parents that were good as they could be under the circumstances.
Right.
My mom, we grew up in the middle of, Reaganomics. You know what I'm saying? The crack era. My pops was 50 years older than me, and he and my mom hooked up. She was 22. He was 50 at the time I was born. So you got
any pictures?
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no,
sure.
I don't mean that. I was talking lascivious. I was saying wrong stuff.
Hey man, listen.
Yeah.
So
an older man and a younger woman hooked
up. Younger woman. My mama, as soon as she got out of high school, as soon as she was legal, he plucked her right out the rose bush and moved her to New York. They had me.
He fell in love with her, right?
He fell in love with her. They stayed together, never got married. Then, something broke them up. That I talk about, which is the youngest memory I can remember, which is me kind of helping my mom out of a home invasion. So she was in New York, so people robbed my dad and this, that, and the other. My dad kind of thought he let his brothers and sisters convince him that she had something to do with it. So they broke up. Me and her came back to Atlanta. He was rich and lived in Manhattan. And me and my mom was on Section 8 and welfare and food stamps. But we still had a great relationship back and forth. So they were good enough, as well. They did as best for me as they had known to do for themselves.
Well, that's rare. That's rare. Maybe do you think that's why you got so much love in you? because you do have that. And I'm not talking about narcissist love, because you got to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you're fucked.
That's real.
You can't love yourself in the way that like certain people are just out of their minds and you know, just love themselves and screw everything up for everybody. And that's where that's why the world's upside down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that that could be so. One thing I always had a lot of is love. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of love around. We might not have had all the things, you know, might not have been no hot water, might not have been no telephone or no lights at the time, but it was plenty of love. You dig what I'm saying? So I can never complain about that.
Right.
I always felt love from my mom, from my grandparents, my dad. You know, it was always, you know, that was say, may not have been a lot of affection, but there was definitely a lot of love.
There was a lot of affection with my parents, but my dad never learned how to hug. So believe it or not, once I started like taking acting classes in my 20s, that's when I started hugging my family. And then they thought that they invented it. But they
what's this weird shit he's doing with his arms?
Yeah, why is he? And it was face to face. It wasn't weird. It wasn't like, you know, you don't want to be spooning with your mom and dad. But I grew up in a hard time. I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, and there was a lot of that was segregation and racism. And I was a Jewish kid, and people would throw rocks at my head and call me a Jew, and you know, so I had my own form of persecution. Can't say it, elocution, and then I have sympathy for the whole world because we're probably on the same plate, which is we're all human beings. What the fuck is wrong with everybody?
Right.
I mean, I was on tour 3 years ago, and people were yelling out racial shit in the audience, and I just don't understand it. But I do understand it when people are put down, it creates it makes them a different person.
I mean, the way I see it is when all you have to hold on to is the color of your skin because you don't have, you know, an adequate amount of talent or an adequate amount of accomplishments, accolades, not because you can't, but because you just choose not to work hard. So you just fall back on the reliability of the color of your skin. You know what I mean? And you don't want that to slip through your fingers. You don't want the only thing that you have to get away from you. So in order to keep it going, you have to persecute others. You can't be on top unless someone's under you. You know what I'm saying?
100%. That's a problem with our country right now.
Absolutely.
And it trickles down from the top, which is changing.
Bullshit rolls downhill, you know.
Oh, man, it's been hitting me in the eyebrows. This COVID shit, I mean, that's enough to make you, I don't want no COVID. I don't understand it.
Now, listen. Now, you played Danny Tanner. And I was a kid growing up watching Full House, man, probably one of the most iconic television shows of the 80s. Now, Full House, which aired 1987 up to 1995 with 8 seasons, 192 episodes.
Right.
Now, I've seen you stand up.
Yeah.
You're a pretty perverted guy.
I always have been. Since I was 17, I was gone. Since I was a kid.
How the hell did you end up as Danny Tanner?
Well, this is how it happened. Years ago, when you have a sitcom, you have warm-up comedians. So I was the audience warm-up for Bosom Buddies, which was Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari.
Okay.
And they dressed up as women to be able to live in a sorority or whatever it was. Right. I can't remember.
I remember that. I remember.
So I was the warm-up comedian. I can't remember the premise, but they dressed up as women. And the same producers produced Full House. And Jeff Franklin was a writer on that, and he wrote Full House, the pilot, and Bob Boyette and Tom Miller. And Bob Boyette and Tom Miller saw me in a Richard Pryor movie. That was kind of, Rodney Dangerfield was one of my first people that helped me. Richard's was Critical Condition. Okay. So I got lucky enough to say that I became friends with Richard. And that's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, that's, you know, we always talk about the GOAT, which LL Cool J apparently coined first, which would make him the GOAT of all goats. If you come up with GOAT, you're
the term didn't exist before him.
You're a GOAT to the fourth power. You are the GOAT.
Yeah, the GOAT.
It just keeps going. Yeah, it's like looking in two mirrors. You just go. And so I was in this Richard Pryor movie. It was a Paramount movie. And Tom Miller and Bob Boyette, the producers of shows like Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days, and they saw me in that movie and thought I was right. And Jeff wanted me, but I was on a morning show on CBS and I got fired because they said I was too hot for morning TV because I said some dirty shit, but I didn't mean to.
What'd you say? What got you fired?
The host, Marriott Hartley, said to me, "Are you a type A personality?" And I said, "Yes, but I'm working on my anus."
What?
Right? So it's just A-NESS, but it's also, I got to say anus on morning television.
It was kind of an intangible benefit.
It was perfect. And she said, "Go to your room." And they sent me up these stairs and there's no room. You know what sets are like. It's a flat, it's a door. And I stood there for 15 minutes. And during that 15, I just went, "You're done here. You're not coming back." And I was there for another 2 weeks. And then they let me go. And then I got the part on Full House. And I'm an actor. It worked out. You know, you think of the worst happens when the door is closed, that there's no hope for you. You really do. And as a young actor, you go, "I'm never going to work again," after every gig. And after I did Critical Condition with Richard, I went, "Holy shit, these are the best people I've ever worked with." And Richard and I did one take 40 times and it was a dead guy on a gurney covered in water who drowned in Rutgers Island, where Richard was pretending to be a doctor. And they wheeled the guy by us and we couldn't look into each other's eyes. It was just, I'm looking at the GOAT, you know, I'm looking at a guy that I looked up to. I was at the Comedy Store hosting for 8 years and doing stand-up. And so Richard was an idol, beyond an idol. And he just liked me. And we both talked about when we knew we were funny, and it was like 4 years old. And that's survival. Being funny is survival.
It is.
And what you do is survival. The music that's come out of you, it's right there.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, fundamental for my sanity. I think it's, you know, therapeutic to be able to kind of get the shit out, you know, and not harbor hard feelings and allow negativity to fester. So music definitely saved my life and kept me sane a number of times. But the juxtaposition, right, between your stand-up comedy and Danny Tanner, okay, how did none of it ever, because I never knew, so think about it now, 87, I'm 7 years old. So from the time I'm 7 to the time I'm 15, you're on one of the hugest, most popular TV shows.
Family shows.
Right. Known to man. And I never knew until I was an adult and saw you. I'm like, "Hey man, it's Danny Tanner doing stand-up. Look at that." And I turned it up and couldn't stop laughing. And I've been...
People thought I did it for shock value, but I was all fucked up from all the shit that happened as a kid. So when I was 17, I was doing stand-up in Philadelphia, working at like Second and Bainbridge for a guy named Steve Starr, who was he's a restaurant guy and a good man. And I just started doing stand-up all the time. It was musical comedy, a lot of comedy songs. And all my specials have always had like 20, 30 minutes of music in them, which is, people don't even know that. But then they see it and then they know it. But
hence the Grammy nomination.
Yeah, that was for a special called That's What I'm Talking About. And it was me just coming out being who I want to be, which is honestly, I'm a wannabe rapper. I'm such a sad wannabe. I'm such a fan.
You want to kick some lyrics? You got a verse?
I don't know if I do. Well, there's a rap song that is sung. I'm Bob Saget. This is what I do. My house, my car. This is my crew.
Oh man.
I don't know. There's a lot more. It's a real song. And,
hey, listen, it's phenomenal that you could pull that part together. How about this?
That was sad. That was the whitest thing I've ever said. I didn't even say it with any kind of boom.
I'm trying to segue.
Yeah, get me out of that. I just feel like some mealy mouth piece of dough right now.
Hey, so check this out. What's the dirtiest joke you've ever told?
Well, you know what's weird is that movie The Aristocrats came out and people thought that's the dirtiest thing. I never knew that joke. I riffed. So not unlike a really good hip hop battle or people just freestyling, That's what that is. That's that jazz comedy, hip hop comedy kind of thing. And I did it for a half hour. And it's about a family that, you know, it's terrible. They want to make it in showbiz, and so they're desperate. So their act is, they just do stuff to each other that you're not supposed to do. Right. And then the agent asks them what they're called, and they say the aristocrats. And it's not a good joke. The dirtiest joke, I mean, there's so many. And I don't even like, it's funny, I don't tell dirty jokes.
What?
Yeah, I do dick jokes, because but how does a dick joke hurt anybody? Like, just recently,
I mean, it only hurt people with small dicks, I'd say.
I do tons of small dick jokes. I bring them into the fold. Yeah. I'm trying to help them.
People pissing on their balls all around the place.
That's the worst. That's the worst. If all you got is a cork, and if you got a cork and a nutsack or a bottle cap for a dick, or in the larger terms, it's a chode. A chode would be, I know all the terms.
What's a chode?
Chode is like those Hormel cans of wieners, those little tiny ones. Remember those little
like
tins? Like, yeah, exactly. It's thin can. That's what your dick is like. It's like, you might not want to take a sip of coffee while I mention that, but it's a very, it doesn't have a lot of length, but it's got a lot of width. And I mean, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know if there's a hole in the wall.
You got to grind, can't pump. You got to grind. You got to grind.
That dry humping ain't fucking. You know, if you're just taking what you got and just, it's like fucking a wall plate. It's not good.
You know,
or whatever that is. I don't know what a wall plate is. But yeah, I guess I did this special on HBO called That Ain't Right.
Right.
And all my specials sound like something that would be like a rap lyric. I'm always putting, you know, I would never say that isn't right. Who talks like that? You know,
that ain't right. So yeah, what I'm saying. So that sounds like, you know, you pull from the vernacular of you know, the Black culture, and it feels like you find ways to display commonality.
I do that, but it's natural. I'm not trying to do it, because all my friends, when people ask me who my favorite comedians are, they're also my friends. I mean, Dave Chappelle is a friend of mine. And I saw you in a video in a fun, where it was in Atlanta, some kind of small room.
Right.
And everybody was having a very good time. And Dave said, you know, if you ever come to Atlanta, this is who you want to be with. Was that the first time you met Dave?
No, man. Me and Dave been kicking it, man. You know what I'm saying? We have a thing. Every time we're around each other, we always have a great time. I've never had a bad time. I've never had, you know, like a fucked up night with Dave. And that
well, no, because he's from the heavens, this guy.
And that's what he tells me. He says, Tip, every time I see you, I have a fucking phenomenal time. I mean, for the record books. So let's not let each other down.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? We've been kicking shit, man, probably for about 6-7 years now. And it's always a phenomenal time, man. Dave's an incredible guy.
He's an amazing human being.
Incredible philosopher.
He's a philosopher. He's a bit of a, dare I say, prophet, but the prophet is a person that doesn't tell the future. He tells you the present, he or she.
Right.
And Dave I've known for 25 or 30 years. So we were kids. I was in Half Baked, and that was when in 1998. That's when I don't know, that followed me around. All you say you suck dick for coke in a movie one time. You
and
just
people
say
come around dangling bags of cocaine.
They don't give a shit about Full House. There are so many strains of pot named after me. It's unfucking believable. It's Saget Sativa. I don't get no merch money. I get nothing out of it.
Well, have you thought about getting into the marijuana industry?
I haven't. I just haven't. I mean, I'm not even a smoker, but I have been. I mean, I when I went and did Dave's comedy camp in Ohio, and
October, right?
We were there in, well, it was the last month. It was the last night of it. It was September or something, I think.
Okay.
It didn't go all the way because they had a little bit of an escape there of concern about health. So they handled it, because Dave is, one of the things I love about him is he takes care of people, takes care of everybody that works with him, friends, works for him, and it's a family the way Dave approaches it, and that's what we're all supposed to be.
Absolutely. Speaking of a family, like how often do you team up with other comedians? Like how tight knit is the circuit of comedy still?
Well, it's interesting because
Now that you all have gone on to make millions and millions of dollars, how tight knit is it still?
see, I wish I had the balls of Kevin Hart to just go, this is how much money I'm making tonight. You know, you know, but the truth of it, to even get back to another point, so many of my comedy people that I would hang out with were Black. And
Right.
so I never understood racism. I never got it, because people I looked up to, once in a while there'd be some people like Rodney or Don Rickles, or who was, of course, crossing the line. Robin Williams was
phenomenal,
beautiful.
Yeah.
He had his devils, and it's really, really sad he's gone. You know, I met him, and the first time I met him, my material was all fucked up. He came up to me, and he had just seen my set. This was 1978. And he says, and I'm like 21, 22. And he goes, so your mother is Gumby and your father is Pokey and you're Mr. Potato Head? And I went, yeah, that's what I said. He went, okay. And Richard, when we were hanging, he would say something and I'd say something worse, just to try to take it worse, to try to make him laugh.
Right.
He would just say, you're one fucked up motherfucker. And that's like, that would make me cry. I mean, I got to hug him. I got to hang with him. And doing a movie is what does that. You can hang out in a comedy club backstage, but it's not the same, because he would come in and he was bigger than life. If you watch this, to answer your other question, if you watch that Comedy Store documentary on Showtime,
okay,
my friend Mike Binder made, I mean, the 80s, the Comedy Store, Richard was the king.
Right.
And then I was on stage hosting when Eddie Murphy came in to work out Raw. So we're talking one of the best performers of all time and one of the best concert films of all time. Best sets, best sets, best piece of work.
There you go.
And he comes out on a Friday night, and this is how I learned what greatness is. And that's what the advantage was for me, to be making no money and working and making some money, but no money.
Right.
Because I know what money is now. And he, you can't tell from what's behind me, but there's money on the other wall.
Man, hey, listen, man. I know
it breaks through to a safe.
I know you guys know how to hide it. I know you stay rich by hiding it. We stay broke by trying to show it. You know what I'm saying? That's just.
See, I can't do that. You're a hero.
Hey, man.
You know what I love about you? I'm just going to tell you, because I talk sometimes like Dave does. You know, a lot of people that are wannabes in what I do and what you do and in everything, doesn't matter what it is. They'll go by your role model. So you'll show a bunch of stuff and champagne and Rolls Royce and bling and stuff, but it's coming from a happy place. It's not, and it might have a little bit of what you're saying is narcissism to it, but it still has love in it.
For inspirational purposes only.
And but that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. It's not
show that you too can come from the ghetto, get out of prison twice, and still turn your life around and do something to run a legitimate business as an entrepreneur, so you can afford these things for yourself as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can have fun, and then work at not going into debt, because a lot of people can spend all of it. They can spend. How many people have been broke? You know, Kanye's been broke a few times. You know, people have been. I know comedians that lost everything, and then all of a sudden
it's gonna be a good while before he goes broke again, I'll say.
Yeah, this is an interesting time we're in right now. We are in some fucked up world. But back in those days when Eddie Murphy, I just want to tell you this, because give you an idea, because you'll understand this as doing what you do. When you come out, you're planning to just do 1,000% of what you can do.
Right.
And, you know, and Eddie came out, the perfect human specimen in a blue leather suit that fit him. If I'd have worn that, they would be like laughing me all the way to, you know, go back to the river, Bob. And he comes out, he does the set. The place goes nuts when he comes in the main room of the Comedy Store, like 400 people.
Okay.
And the walls are shaking. And then he does the set, and he gets great applause at the end. Comes back the next Friday, and we all knew who was working out where. Was he at the Improv? Did he go up somewhere else? I don't know where he went. He might have just been home in his head thinking of what to do or working out while he was figuring out. Because the following Friday, he came in and he did about an hour and 20 instead of an hour. The walls shook when he came out, but when he finished, it was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. The applause was 5 minutes. And when he got off stage, I looked at him and I just went, there was no speak. I spoke because I can't shut the fuck up. I said that was amazing. And he looked at me like he was my first officer. Like he's the commander and I'm at ease. So he just went, it was emotion with his head and deep eye connection of very good, sir. Because he knows exactly what he did. He knows exactly that you learn it. He was
intentional about it.
It's so intentional. Knew how to fix every single thing. Lightning hit that night. Of course, wasn't just that night because he did it on film. So Raw is a definitive comedy concert. And so that's greatness. And he wanted to be the Beatles of comedy, and he did it. He did it.
Now, you also were the host on another one of America's most, the most innocent show.
Right.
The most, I guess, dare I say, censored, or what would you call it?
Well, it was before YouTube. It was before we could even connect on here.
Right.
Before
we're talking about America's Funniest Home Videos. Everybody.
We are, and I hosted it for 8 years, starting in 1989. And it was it 87 or 89? No, it was after Full House. Full House started in 87, so it was 87, and it went to #1 right away. And my producer called and said, "We're #1." I said, "What is #1? Piss?" I don't want to be #2. And then he goes, "No, we are the #1 show." And we were on at 7:00 on a Sunday night, and they picked it up right away. And it was the first YouTube. Everything we look at on our phone, when you're looking at a funny video from Doug Ellen, right, or Michael Rappaport, or whoever's posting, or Barstool, or whoever's showing all this shit all day long, or Fuck Jerry, or whoever everybody's looking at, it's all makes you laugh, I'll be watching DL Hughley's Instagram feed, and a lot of it'll be about social injustice and how can these fuckers do this, and then all of a sudden some guy on one video gets hit in the nuts. There's nothing to do with anything. It's a dog slipping and sliding,
Right.
So it was raw.
How did the idea of that, did you conceptually come up with the idea of America's Funniest Home Videos?
I wish I had, or you'd see a much better background right now. There'd be a cave and women in it.
Yeah.
I don't mean a cave.
I'm sure that's behind the wall.
Man cave.
That's behind the wall. You probably
pull a nice
one of those bobbleheads, and then the whole wall turns around.
Just pull down on the bobblehead and opens up.
Now you got the R. Kelly dungeon behind you.
I do. I got a man cave like no one's ever seen. It's all beautiful purple lighting and pictures of Hendrix, and there's blotter acid all over the coffee table.
Right. And how did that opportunity? How do all of these innocent, lily white opportunities continue to come to you, who is one of the darkest white comedians I've ever heard?
Yeah, and here
you and George Carlin.
No, he's a genius.
Yeah, George Carlin also
another prophet. And if you watch stuff that he's saying, if you've seen sound bites right now on wherever you look at shit, I'll go on TikTok. Not to scope out 16-year-old girls, but I'm looking at comedians. Right. And if a young girl happens to pop on there, my wife.
Long as she's 18. Long as she's 18.
Everybody's 18, they say.
Oh shit.
Oh man, this is going to be the soundbite you're going to use. So that's okay. They can't cancel me. All you got to do is watch 2 of my specials. I'd cancel myself.
You did. And then now that's an interesting point. Your comedy specials have come out. They came out pre-cancel culture, pre-Me Too. You know what I'm saying? How do you think a stand-up special of yours would fare with audiences now, given the sensitivity of everybody's opinions?
Well, I obviously would change some stuff, but what I did to my advantage was I made fun of myself first.
Mm,
So I would always talk about my own, all the shit that didn't work on me, stuff
right.
that I couldn't get women, or stuff about my dick that was just making fun of my dick, just getting mad at my dick, and how it was not getting laid. So it had a frown at the end of it. The little hole was a frown. And then I got to turn that frown upside down. So you got to turn it, look at it in a mirror or something, just dumb shit. But so then I would, if I said something, they knew.
Who in the fuck could imagine Danny Tanner saying some shit like that?
By the way, back to the first point, I'll get back to the video show, but I got in trouble at Full House because we all love each other to this day.
Right.
But those girls, I was doing shit and I didn't know their mothers were watching it on the monitor. I said stuff I shouldn't have said and done stuff I shouldn't have said. But we had like a donkey on the show. It's a famous story. And John Dave and I are standing there, and Ashley and Mary Kate are about 3 feet tall. They're kids. They're 3 years old. And this donkey got an erection, and then it took a shit. And what am I supposed to do with that? Not mention it? I mean, how do I not? It is a giant donkey cock, and it's level with the kids. And as soon as, because the air conditioning was blowing right on it, because I was feeling it.
My God.
And then I just said, I was a good parent. I am a good parent. I got 3 daughters in life.
Right.
I said, could you guys please move the donkey? And then we, until this goes away, I asked the trainer, can you put something on it? Is there a cream? What can you do? Do you need to take care of it in the barn? But back to so I did get some. I got
there an age-appropriate female donkey on set?
What we need here is a female donkey, a donkess.
A donkess.
So,
what kind of trouble what kind of heat did that bring on you?
Well, I got scolded. I'd go to the producer's office and they'd say, you got to stop this. And I said, I can't help it. It's like we're kids here. We're on a kid show. We're on a family show. It's really hard to control.
Right.
And they couldn't fire me. So it was like, I really tried. I wrote about it in a book called Dirty Daddy. The title tells you everything. And
okay. Dirty Daddy, was it a bestseller?
It was a New York Times bestseller.
Dope.
And you've written 2 books. And I
did. I wrote 2 novels, fictional novels, Power and Beauty and Trouble and Triumph. I'm
going to read them. I know. I'm excited because that is so hard. How hard was that, right?
I was in prison, Bob, so it was pretty easy. Pass the time perfectly.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of pass the time, had shit to do.
I'd be doing that. Now, how long were you in?
Man, I did 2 one-year stints. 8 months, 10 months one time, 11 months the next time.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Do you think, did you think you might not survive that, or did you always know you would?
Anybody can survive prison, man. I mean, as long as you just, you stay to yourself and you are who you are. You can't get in there and try to be everything else that you weren't on the streets. As long as you are a genuine person and you are sincere to who you are, and you respect others and demand respect in return, just real simple, fundamental life shit. You ain't got to be a tough guy. You ain't necessarily got to, you know how the people say, man, you got to go to the biggest person and hit them. I mean, if you want to have that kind of bid, you can do that, but you can also go to the library, get some books, go to, you know what I'm saying, go and, kind of fill your mind with some information and some things that'll help you keep from coming back, which I did not do the first time, but the second time I got, you know what I'm saying, I rode a different ride.
Well, you were younger. That's the other thing. I
was pretty young. I've been going to jail since I was like 15, though. You know what I mean? Like juvenile, 14, 15 years old, man.
Was it for stealing shit or
Nah, man, I ain't never really steal nothing. Although I did have, I had a, what was it? Theft by receiving a stolen, I had a brand new Mazda Millennium. So this is the thing, right? So back when I was selling crack as a teenager, one of the greatest benefits of that was for me to give car owners crack in exchange for me being able to drive their cars. for indefinite amounts of time.
This is an unusual setup. I haven't seen this before.
Okay, so now one time my homeboys and I, man, we kept a car too long to the point where they were just about, we had called it, they called it in stolen. So we ditched that car, but now we need a new car. So I'm thinking, you know what? I want a better car. I want to pick my car. How can I do that? So I go to this, you know how you have this this long strip of a highway where they have car lots all lined up and down off the expressway. All right, so I went to one of those, and I noticed that when they pull the cars off of the trucks for delivery, the first thing they have to do, go to the gas station. You got to fill it up, because when somebody buys it, you got to have a full tank. They can't travel with it on a full tank. So we decided we're going to wait at the gas station for somebody to fill up a car, and then we're going to hop in it, and we're going to take off. And me, at the time, I wanted a 96 Impala, Bob. That was my dream car, 96 Impala. This was actually 95, 96 when this took place.
Right.
And so right across from the GMC, there was a Ford dealership, a GMC dealership, and a Mazda dealership. And I'm waiting for a 96 Impala. And I passed up on Escorts. I passed up on, like, you know, those little Ford Ranger trucks. I didn't want none of that. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna wait for my Impala. So the Impala never came, but what did come? A 1997 Mazda Millennium, brand new, fresh off the truck, negative miles on it.
Wow.
So this guy pumps his gas, goes in. There was no credit card at the pump at the time. Goes in, and I guess him and the cashier having an argument or a discrepancy about how much change he was supposed to get or whatever. So I see this and I tell my buddy Doug, I say, hey, this is it. This is it. So I creep over there to the car, hop in it, peel off. Now, I'm thinking I'm scot-free. I'm headed back, you know, riding to the sunset.
Right, you don't know.
So a good Samaritan let the car salesman hop in his car, and they're chasing behind me on some citizen's arrest type shit. Now I'm on a high-speed chase in a stolen car, brand new, with citizens behind me. And so, you know, I weave and shake them. We actually play a game of chicken where I won. So then I kind of, you know, took the car back to the headquarters, and I was supposed to put it up until I got in touch with my people. They were going to give me papers and kind of switch over the VIN numbers for me so I could actually have it as my own car. Well, of course, you know, had to drive it. Absolutely had to drive it. My uncle told me, don't drive the car tip. Sit the car up, put a cover on it, sit and wait until I get all the paperwork together. Don't drive the car tip.
How old are you right now? 16?
15.
15.
I'm 15. All right, sure. I'm not going to drive it. Skirt. Man, we must have went to every club, house party. We had all the fun in the world. And that was, you know, that was my first kind of introduction into this luxurious lifestyle of automobiles that I now, you know, have the pleasure of experiencing without theft. But a few days later, driving the car in the same county that I stole it from, no less, get pulled over. And of course, I'm like, yo, well, you know what I'm saying? Since it wasn't registered, it hadn't made it. Maybe they don't even know it's stolen yet. Not thinking, what 15-year-old kid has this kind of car? And, you know, so I get arrested. I go to juvenile for it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, that, so that's the only time I stole something. Every other time, I was hustling. You know what I'm saying, like selling drugs and stuff.
That's a big. And what would you tell kids today? Do not do that.
No. Well, see, this is the thing now. All of a sudden, there has been this a culture in Atlanta, at least, of kids who hop in cars at gas stations and take off with people's shit.
Yeah.
Then they haven't elevated their ambition enough to go toward where the car lots are and wait to get brand new cars that nobody's ever bought. They haven't gone that far yet, but they're stealing cars from actual, you know, car owners.
Right.
Much more dangerous because kids are getting shot. You know, this is a stand your ground.
Yeah, this is, when you did that, do you think, and we all know the world was probably worse. I mean, it was worse as far as racism goes. Do you feel like you were let off a little bit easier back in that day?
I mean, I was a kid, right? So, I
But a
mean,
lot of kids are getting shot, doing stuff like
this
that.
is true. This is true. I don't think that, to be honest with you, although kids have been getting killed since Emmett Till, I don't think that the culture took the turn to amplify it as much as it is now until Barack Obama became our president.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think the answer to Barack Obama was things like, Trayvon Martin, and other atrocities that have continuously taken place, kind of showing you, oh, you think you're hot shit now because you have a black president. Well,
Yeah,
you can't
people
do
laid
shit
low
about this. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I just kind of grew up in a time where the tension wasn't as visibly heightened as it is right now.
Right.
I
Well,
kind of just
you're
I
lucky
slid through
too.
the cracks.
You're lucky. You're
I
lucky.
was lucky. Yeah, and blessed.
See, that's an alternative now in Seattle where crack is just fine. You could actually, there's Avis, Hertz, and then crack rental. And basically you just trade crack for a car and
That's
it's
exactly
legal.
that's what we did. But see, instead of finding the crack addict that had the car that I wanted, I said, you know what, I'm going to bypass the addict and go straight to the car dealership. And, we're going to handle this, just mano a mano. I think that was.
But by the time it's like legal, which is going to be weird, but it might
What,
be.
crack?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
it's legal in Oregon right now, right?
that's the deal. Yeah, it's not
It's
Seattle. I
not
was
Seattle,
wrong.
it's Oregon.
No, but
Oregon
I've
has
done drugs
passed
in
the law.
Seattle, so I kind of placed it there.
Okay. What kind of drugs you do in Seattle?
I think it was mostly, I didn't want to do a lot of heavy shit, so I did
Right.
mostly heroin and crack. No, I'm just kidding. I think it was, it was just pot. And
Right.
in my early 20s, I was into coke for a couple of years.
Of course, you were with Richard. You was Richard Pryor. You had to do a bump or two, man. Just to shake one
I
of
never
narc.
did it with Richard, but I did it with a lot of known people.
Right.
I'd known Richard from the Comedy Store for years, but then when I did the movie, it was after the fire. So I know him before it and after it. And once you set yourself on fire, and he would joke about it, as you know, because, he talked about it in his concert films. But, you kind of, if you're going to do it, you do it with nobody around. You don't do it with other people.
That makes sense.
And you do it because it makes you feel better. But I also think it didn't help his immune system because his MS was pretty bad. So I think when you think about it, all the drugs some of my favorite people have done that had to get off of them, they'd already done some damage to their actual immune system. When I look at Robin talked about it openly because Robin was another tragic, it's just all sad. I don't like when talented, good, funny, or musically talented, or just great people geniuses die. I don't mind when other people do. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fucked up.
I am fucked up, but that's, but I never answered about the video show, which I think will be good because that'll pull me out of talking about drugs that I've taken.
No, that's all right, man. I've done drugs too, bro. I smoke weed still to this day. I drink, you know what I'm saying, as regularly.
Yeah, I still drink. I want to stop drinking because I've been losing weight, which is good. Yeah, so I hosted America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh shit, yeah, man. So how in the fuck did they let you host America's Funniest Home Videos?
It was the in-between shit that I got in trouble on. There were kids in the audience, so I had to be very careful. Very careful.
Did you get in as much trouble at America's Funniest Home Videos as you did at Full House?
No, because I realized it was just me talking to the people at home. Right. And I wanted to broadcast as a professional and not lose everybody. But then I found out that every demographic from every walk of life, of every kind of human being watched it. And to answer your question from before, there was a show in Japan that was the original format of people for the first time sending in their tapes, their VHS tapes. Right. And so the producer of Indabona and ABC took an ad out in People magazine, said, send us your tapes. And then they started getting like thousands of tapes, and that became the first 20 minutes. They sent me 20 minutes of VHS tapes of people getting hit in the nuts, a kid picking his nose and putting it in his brother's mouth.
Damn.
You know, there was a lot of stuff we couldn't run, and that was fun. Except, you know, there were problems because it was violent. You know, you'd see somebody just full speed go into a wall, and then they would cut.
There's a show for that now. It's called Ridiculousness.
Yeah. Rob Dyrdek.
Rob Dyrdek, who's a great buddy of mine, man.
Oh, he's great. I wanted to do it, and I want to do it again. I want him to ask me again, because I had a lawyer that said I couldn't do it because of the union. And I wanted to catapult him into the ocean. I wanted them to build a catapult, and they were going to do it. And so I'm going to call him. I think he's
a great guy, bro.
A great guy, and
filthy stinking rich too.
He really did well.
But still a cool guy, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's the whole point. That's the point, is that you do the work because you want to do the work.
No one likes a guy who got rich just to be a dick.
And you don't get rich to be famous, and you don't get, but although that drives a lot of people, because that does make success.
Some people rather the fame than the money now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that makes no sense to me, because I love to work.
Exactly.
I mean, look how much work you've done. It's unbelievable, your body of work. You ever stop and think about that?
I mean, only when people like you say it, you know.
So many songs, so many albums, so many music videos, so much acting.
I mean, man, I hadn't done as much acting as you have. Like, you know, you have years and years and years and years and years of coming in and remembering lines and keeping up with character arcs, and you've worked around some of the most iconic, prolific stars of that era. John Stamos.
He is a handsome dude. It really pisses me off.
Mary-Kate and Ashley.
They're my friends now. They're fat. The donkey with the dick hard. That's my favorite co-star. That was amazing.
But do you still have a love for acting? I mean, you appeared on the hit Fox TV show, I Can See Your Voice.
Yeah, I did that because, you know, Ken Jeong's a friend of mine. Okay. And we're in COVID, so there were no shows. Yeah. And they said, would you like to do it? And I love Ken. But what Ken didn't know was when I went and did the show, I was already secretly being fitted for the costume for Masked Singer.
Well, you played the squiggly monster.
Yeah, I mean, how do you not love him? He's got 7 eyes that look like tits. So, I mean, I wanted to feel my head up. And it was so funny because Ken was saying, hey, Bob, would you like to come and be on the Masked Singer? We've had Wayne Brady. We've had a lot of people sit in as a judge, panelist, whatever. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm really busy. I'm sorry, Ken. But he didn't know that I was going to be taking my head off.
Damn.
And they say, take it off, take it off. It's like, I'm not a stripper.
Hey, look, man. So, but would you continue to do those types of things? Or would you are you getting roles or considering roles for acting gigs?
I'm developing stuff right now. I'm developing a really good animated series. And I'm also writing a movie that's a sequel to a movie that I directed years ago. So it's got some really funny people in it. So it'll have hopefully the funniest people, but I'm still in development with a bunch of projects, and I'm going to do some stand-up. I'm doing a drive-in, my first drive-in, because I have to do stand-up. I'm going to Irvine. The Spectrum Center has a giant parking lot and a drive-in. It's one of the few that's supposed to be really classy. It's December 12th. I'm doing it. Have you done any of that? Have you performed anywhere?
Nah, man, been offered it, and I haven't saw a reason enough to do it yet. You know,
it doesn't feel right. The drive-in's a different thing. They're in their car, and it's obviously not ideal. Bill Burr told me he was doing
tons of guns too, by the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you don't want to do something they don't like.
You dig what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of my music kind of it perpetuates that kind of energy. You know,
right?
The best songs that I have, you know, like You Don't Know Me, or you know, I got called Stand Up. Dope Boys, 24s. A lot of that is really talking about the kind of stuff that you don't want people to be around guns listening to. You know what I mean?
Yep. And you
But
can't be indoors. It has to be outdoors, which you
no,
could do. But
there are places now where they have, you know, they're allowing live performances.
well, there were a few theaters. I canceled the whole tour, moved it to next year, obviously,
Right.
and there were a lot of indoor theaters and stuff, and I couldn't do that. And they said, well, you'll have a third capacity. I said, I'm not doing that. I'll wait till I can fill the house and we're all safe. But
Yeah.
I'm scared of the vaccine because they say,
Me too.
well, it's a joke, but it's not meant to be. But it's made by Pfizer, the first one, and Pfizer makes Viagra. So I think that secretly they're going to want you to inject it into your penis. That's what I'm worried about. It's like a flu shot.
Well, I mean, for you, look, this is the thing now. For my people and people of color, period, the history of this country manipulating medicine and lying to people of color about their intentions with vaccines, and you know, from the Tuskegee experiment, even to the Trail of Tears, you know, where indigenous Native American people were given blankets with smallpox on them and told to walk on this trail that you know they did not know that, you know, and it's always made to seem like, yeah, we're helping you. Yeah, we're helping you because we're such a great nation. We're going to help you, and you're just going to develop a long-term disease that you won't know where you got it from later. So for us, it means something totally different to even consider a vaccine, and I don't think enough of us pay attention to that.
Well, I'm considering it because my doctor is going to take it. He said he's going to take it. He said, if you don't hear from me, probably don't take it. But I believe,
way to take one for the team.
Right? That's a good doctor. But the truth of it is, I lost a sister to this disease called scleroderma, and it shares in common with COVID in that it affects the lungs often, and you die from pulmonary hypertension. Your lungs kind of turn to stone and they atrophy. And it is disproportionately affects people of African descent more than other other races. And so there's a lot of, we've all heard the statistic that African Americans are more susceptible in percentage counts to COVID. So
I think it was genetically modified for that, to be honest.
I don't think it was meant to clean the races. I don't think I think it was just batshit crazy. I think somebody. You think that
listen, can't
prove. So you're a bit of a conspiracy theorist. You think it was
a conspiracy theorist, and I'm a cynic.
I am a cynic.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm 100% a cynic because we've been getting lied to by fucking everybody.
Extremely skeptical of the governments and their intentions. Extremely skeptical. Just given the history of all the things that the government kept away from us. And even when they admitted it, sort of like, let's talk about the Iran-Contra scandal, which led to the war on drugs, which led to privatized prison industries, mass incarceration, the militarization of the police in our communities. All of this shit has been admitted by the government with no consequence, no accountability. So
that's
now
correct.
Forward, I must say, hey, all the bullshit's on the table.
All we can do is try to change what's moving forward, because we're not going to be able to fix what fucked all this up, because it's centuries of
But if
shit.
you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
That is 100% true. That's why I'm not going to masturbate ever again, because I don't want to repeat that mess I made in the kitchen. But no, I hear you. I just think if there's a vaccine that works, it would be wonderful. And I think there will be, because I mean, look at polio, look at influenza.
Right.
And I don't think it was meant to eliminate, and this isn't saying that people wouldn't like to see an entire race wiped out, because those people are all over.
I mean, there's some people who like to see an entire race wiped out. Then there's some people who like to just see people wiped out because they are invested in population control.
Yeah, because they're fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And they don't even know what humanity is. It's
They're
just
afraid
sad.
that the earth is going to run out of resources if people continue to populate at the rate that we're populating, which I don't think that's their job. I think the universe kind of does a great job of fixing and correcting and making sure things are available for all the people who are on the earth, as long as the top 2% with the most money doesn't hoard all the resources for themselves.
Yeah. Well, they're spreading the most lies, not them, but the people that are.
Right.
There's good people everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's so funny to watch.
With pure hearts and genuine spirits. Absolutely.
Of every group,
of every race,
it doesn't fucking matter what party you're in. It just, I don't get that people can't have a conversation.
Right.
So that means there's a lot of fueled hatred that's inherited, that is in people's DNA.
The pot is being stirred by the puppet masters. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I saw a meme the other day, right? It says, if you take one black ant and 6 red ants and sit them under a jar, they'll be perfectly fine, no problem. But if you shake that jar up and then put them in that jar, they're going to kill each other because they're going to think that the others are trying to kill them. And I feel like that's what's going on in America.
Yeah, people are trying to make this
They're
shit.
shaking the jar.
Well, they've been trying to make it worse, and it started, ironically, a long time ago, but this past 4 years has been a shit storm. And it's really been a separation, which makes me so sad. But maybe I'm trying to be an optimist and think we're going to fail upward, that think that these mistakes we're going to learn from, but it does seem like, fuck, this is going to take a decade just to get through this time. You know, this year alone. This
was a decade of a year. I'm telling you. I think that, you know, the last 4 years were the worst that they say it will get before it gets better.
Things do have to get, I mean, look at your life. Look at my life. Yeah. I went through shit where everybody died. I had a sister died in a hospital. I had another one in a mental institution. When you see that shit, when you're in it, when you're living in it, what you saw, maybe prison was better for you because you used your mind to overcome the bad shit that could have been.
It shit sucks still, but I get what you're saying.
But I mean, you've seen a lot of shit.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't seen it. I wouldn't be able to get out there and make people laugh and have 2 feet on the ground and know exactly what my purpose is. You know?
I think we're all a culmination of our experiences.
100%.
Our experiences kind of shape and mold our personalities, our expectations, our ambitions, and kind of make us who we are, you know, in this world right now. And
we all have our own history. And when people go, I don't understand how they can respond that way, or anybody that says or anybody that goes, why would this person be so upset? And I'm always saying, you don't have their experience.
Right.
You haven't lived their experience. You can't. That person went through stuff that you will never, ever understand unless you were like a sci-fi movie morphed into their head and lived their life, you know?
You did? Man, you've had such a long, illustrious, and prosperous career. What else do you think you have left to do that you haven't accomplished yet?
I want to get in a jar with red ants and black ants, and I want to shake that thing up, and I want us to live in peace.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It was funny. I was talking to Bill Burr, and I'm 64, and he's younger.
Bill Burr is another dope comedian.
Oh, he's my fucking heart. You know, all these guys. We like all the same people, by the way.
I'm trying to get him on the show, man.
Yeah. I'll tell him. I'll text him.
Tell him you did it and it was painless.
It was more than painless. It was. That's true. It was more than painless. It was. I could talk to you a lot. I mean, you're a wonderful man.
Man, I appreciate it.
But Bill said to me, I'm going to cut off complimenting you because I'll start to cry. But Bill said, I said, I'm 64 and I haven't even come here on this earth to do what I came here to do. Right. And he looked at me, we're smoking cigars. He says, well, you better fucking hurry up. I said, I'm not dying. I got a few decades. Leave me alone.
Right. Man,
You
it seems
know,
like you're gonna be here for a pretty long time, man. You put out great energy, man. You seem extremely passionate about your craft and your art, extremely genuine about your intentions. And, you know, I think that the energy that you put out is the energy that you receive. So I think you'll be around a long time, bro.
well, I'm honored. Thank you for those words.
Man,
I
thank
feel
you.
that way about you. I'm like, I would hug you right now. I just, no
Well,
mask. I would hug you with no.
bareface. I'd give you a bareface hug if I'm telling
Damn right. I would accept your droplets.
Hey man, listen, bro. I appreciate your time and attention, man. Thank you for taking the time out. Now here at Expeditiously, we have a tradition. That tradition is for me to come up with a word that comes from my illustrious vocabulary, just like I chose this word to name the show. So I feel like it's only right to help people expand their vocabularies by choosing a word that would be indicative of the conversation or a representation of the guest. Now, the word I have chosen for you today, Mr. Saget.
Yes, sir.
Thespian.
Oh.
Thespian means actor or actress. And we're going to use it in a sentence today because people who are watching, I want them to know how to use it so they can go on and, you know, pretend like they've known this word all their life, giving us no credit for it, as they rightfully should. Bob Saget is a successful thespian who has contributed greatly to pop culture. And we thank you for your contributions, and we appreciate your art, bro.
I appreciate yours. I am proud to be a thespian because you're not clear whether it's a man or a woman, and sometimes I feel that way late at night.
I get oh shit, man.
I did want to plug my podcast, which I might ask you to be on it if you'd honor me. I know you're busy.
Yeah, man. Sure, I love to return the favor.
Well, we get to talk more, and then I could. It's reciprocity and expeditiously. I'd be asking because I'm a thespian, and you are too. I mean, you're multifaceted, and thespian's just one of yours.
You're just rolling those SAT words off, man, one after the other.
I just got 200 points for my name. That's all I got on that thing. But it's called Bob Saget's Here for You. So it's
and what network or what?
It's Apple and Spotify and Studio 71 does it. So it's all over the place. Dope. And I have great guests and Bill Burr. I mean, I've had a lot of wonderful people that are people we all like. I got Mark Maron coming up, and Jason Sudeikis and Regina Hall has been on recently, and and Whoopi, just people that I love and have always loved. So I'd love to have you on if you got the time, and if you don't, I respect it. So.
Nah, man. I mean, I make some time, man. We'll get it done. You do it based out of LA, or you do it through Zoom?
I do it right here. I'm doing it like you're doing this.
Okay.
Out of LA. I just do it in a nicer room.
Well, let's create some time, man, where I can, make myself available and we'll get it done.
Thank you, T.I. Thanks for having me, man.
Bro.
Same to you. You are a special man, and it's an honor to talk to you. Thank you.
Man, appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, G. Watch your favorite episodes of expeditiously right now on the expeditiously YouTube page.